All right, guys. 3X Lex back in the building. Back one time for the one time. Let's get to it. All right. This is what we got here. New discovery, PSP section, and this goes for the PSP mini section too. Big improvement. A lot of these games, as I've mentioned in the last few videos I made for the Super Console X Pro, just to let you know, we're on the Super Console X Pro still, so I don't want to get any confusion or anything going. So we're still using that. So on this system, I've mentioned several times in the previous videos, the PSP section was slow, it didn't run as well, and it was having some issues. So what I've done is I've done some digging here. And if you go here to Advanced System Options and go to the emulator and change it to PSSSPP Extreme, not PSSSPP Standard or DL. Make sure you have it on the Extreme. The Extreme works the best. So when I switched to Extreme and backed out of here and also enable Max Performance, I've also cut on Smooth Games because that actually smooths the games over because they were looking a little rough after I switched to this emulator. All three of those adjustments have really tuned up this PSP section considerably. So it's pretty much an easy fix. Like we'll go here and check out Soul Calibur. Before, this game was running at pretty much like 40 frames a second. It was averaging probably like 35, 45 frames a second. And this is like a 60 frame per second game. Now it's running full speed. And overall, it's a lot more stable with this emulator. It's not crashing as much. This section, I want to mention this again, it still is not as stable as the lower powered systems like CPS, MAME, all of that stuff. Those sections are just a lot more stable on this device. It's still an opportunity and chance of this section like causing the unit to crash. So I have to let you know that in advance with this unit. Like you can use the PSP section in Dreamcast. There isn't a lot of games. Between Dreamcast, Naomi, Thomas Wave, there's really probably, give or take, I don't know, 60 games if you're not counting the PSP mini games. The PSP mini games are like really small and basic games. They're very basic games. A lot of them are ports of older arcade games, or they're just ports of non-existent games that no longer work. So essentially what you're dealing with there is, hold on, let me go back into Soul Calibur again. I pressed the wrong, I exited by accident, my mistake. Yeah, so again, yeah, the PSP mini section is nothing really to write home about. All of those games do work. They do run better with this PSSSPP Extreme setup also. So that helps those two, but there's not really much of note in that section. But this is an improvement for this section here. So I would highly suggest it. So it does bring the PSP games to at least playable. Because before, this section was pretty much just a waste of time. So yeah, you're at 60. So it's super smooth. It looks pretty detailed too. Every now and then, I notice a hint of slowdown or stutter, but it's pretty rare, and overall, it's pretty consistent. And I'm pretty happy with it. For the most part, it's consistently at 60 though, which is what you want. The game looks pretty good with the smoothing option on too. Still isn't upscaled or anything, so it doesn't really have that high res look like it does running on the PC. But hey, at least it looks decent and it's playable. Considering how low powered this device is, this is really impressive to be able to run this game at full speed. Very impressive. So this is a big upgrade. I mean, unfortunately, there isn't a ton of PSP games on it. I mean, this would probably mean a lot more if it was 100 PSP games. But, I mean, even still, 25 ain't bad. You know, it's something. And there's some rather significant games on here. I just noticed Darius Burst is actually on here. So I'm gonna show you guys that next. Yeah, so Soul Calibur runs great. Can't really complain too much about Soul Calibur. It does what it's supposed to do. I ain't got the best camera in the world. I'm really gonna have to upgrade the camera real soon so you can actually see the difference. But you should still be able to tell by this video how smooth it's running. So I think after this video is uploaded and processes in HD, you should be able to see it. All right, Soul Calibur for PSP, full speed. Everything's running good. Didn't even get any stutters there, so great. Exited out. Power Stone Collection would have been a nice addition for this section, seeing as the Power Stones, especially the first one, doesn't run full speed on Dreamcast on here, but c'est la vie, unfortunately. Anyway, yeah, Darius Burst, man. You know, one of my favorite PSP games. I mean, one of my favorite shooters, 2D shooters of the more modern era is here, and I'm pretty excited about this. I almost forgot they ported this to PSP. If you watch my channel, you probably see me play this before on Steam. I'm gonna have to do a long play on that, but here it is here, and my observation of it is the game doesn't look anywhere near good as the Steam version, but it still looks fairly good and it runs just as smooth. So it's still just as fun. The graphics ain't bad. They're not as detailed as Steam, but you gotta remember this is PS2. This game pretty much came out in the PS4 era. So this was pretty much a PS4 game that they released for PSP, which was lower power than PS2. So we got to keep that in mind. They basically ported this game to a system that was 2 generations older hardware-wise. To be honest, I didn't even know this game came on PSP. So this is really dope, you know, and this game has a ton of playthrough, replay value and stuff. And it's just extremely sweet. So this is a real treat. And of course, Darius Burst is a pretty light game to run, even PC-wise. Pretty basic PCs can run this game. And so, like, I'm not surprised this isn't really hard to run on PSP, especially with the adjustments. But yeah, this is definitely full speed. You know, no slowdown, tons of enemies on the screen and stuff. And this is a real treat. Sank that mother blinker. All right. But yeah, it's just as fast and furious. Yeah, but the thing is, the Steam version of this game is pretty cheap now. And it's pretty cheap now. And even with my base PC, you can pretty much probably run this game at 4K. I don't know about 4K. I think you can run it at 1080p though. And even on my base PC, and it looks incredible even at 1080p. But yeah, mid-level PC will run this at 4K pretty easy. But this is a fun-ass 2D shooter, and it looks good even on this system. Dang. Dang. Wow, they really didn't. The difficulty has ramped up tenfold. Yeah, the game smoothing function though has definitely helps out a lot on this Super Console X Pro, because in most of these platforms you can't really raise the resolution because the board doesn't really have the power. You're not on a PC or even something like an Odroid, which has like big power for a single board computer to be able to just raise the res to get a better looking image. So yeah, this smoothing option helps out a whole lot. Still not as nice looking as an upscale, but pretty nice though, nonetheless. Sunk that big boy. Let's go. To speak a little bit about Darius Burst here, this was a landmark shooter when this game came out. What was this, 2015 or so? Maybe a little bit before, but this is, I think it was a little bit before then. This is a landmark shooter. Darius has been around a long time. It was definitely considered like one of the quality shooters. Never really one of the greats. It was a B shooter. It wasn't like a C shooter or anything. It was around a long time. The older games were pretty good. I remember the first one that came out, not the first one, but the PS1 version. I didn't really care for it too much. It was okay. I think it was G Darius or something. I remember returning that game back in the day. It just didn't really have real smooth action. It was okay. Nothing too out of the ordinary though. It's just extremely basic. But this game, they really, really went all out with this one. All type of interconnecting worlds. Just a huge game too. Super difficult. All type of stuff to explore. And the levels are really short, tons of bosses. And they went all out. Like when this came out, it established this series as, an A-level shooter. This is one of the great shooters, in my opinion. Like I would put this game, it's a top 10 shooter ever. I don't know how high I will put it. It's not super innovative gameplay wise, but just for the sheer content, how fun it is, the action, graphics, and everything combined, I would say it's an elite level shooter. It's an A shooter. It finally crossed over into one of the greats and pulled the series into like greater contention. So it's certainly up there with Ikaruga, Dodonpachi, Radiant Silver Gun, Terra Diver. It's up there. It's one of the greats. It's top 10. It's so good and so much to it is, you know, I really wouldn't want to see a sequel, to be honest. At least not anytime soon. I'm still satisfied with it. I've never gotten a chance to really dig my teeth into it, and it's super tough. And you can tell that by how many times I keep dying. So yeah, it's a super tough game too, which is good. It has a lot of potential though. They could push the series even further if they wanted to, but the arcade version is cool. I played the arcade version. You sit down in the cab, and it's 4 players at once too, which is awesome. It was like one of the first 4-player shooters ever. So that's a great thing. It's a great shooter. Definitely one of the greats. Top 10. I don't know how high I will place it. You know, up there with Einhander and Ikaruga and all that, but it's up there. It's top 10 for sure. I have to put together a list one day. Anyway, I could play this game all day. Darius Burst. Great game. Definitely check that out. Again, it's an improvement. It's still, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. I don't want to make this too long. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper so I can go through this and show off a little bit more of the PSP section. I haven't done that a lot. But anyway, I made this video to let you guys know the PSP and PSP mini section from making those adjustments are greatly improved, and it's now playable and it's more stable, because before they were crashing the device. And you know, my assumption of that, and from what I know, is that I feel like they were probably pushing the device a little bit too hard in those particular emulators. I'm not sure, but it had the tendency to crash a lot. It's a lot smoother now. The games are running, a lot of the games are now running full speed. They look better, running full speed, and it's not crashing the device as much. I haven't noticed it crash much since I've switched over, maybe 1 or 2 times, but it's a lot more stable now. I would consider this section now playable now. Before, I had pretty much axed out everything above N64. But I would say the PSP and PSP mini section is now playable. It's not perfect though, so you have to go into it knowing that. But this is a big improvement for that section, and it's a big upgrade. I'm gonna keep working and tweaking the Dreamcast, Atomic Wave, and Naomi section to see if I can do anything to get the games to run a little bit better and more stable, so they won't crash the device. But nonetheless, if you get the Super Console X Pro and you make these adjustments, you can enjoy the games that are there in this section. It's not a ton, but you can enjoy it. Hey, 3X Lex out. Peace.